Welcome to Warblog. Just a first note for anyone that sort of tunes in regularly, I'm way behind. Partly because I had to redeploy the server. But I came out on holiday, Florida at the moment, little secret, and I put these two in, meaning I'll do those. So that was 6 weeks ago, and then there's news of this Hong Kong riots. I haven't done that. Then the Turkish thing came and went. I am way behind Operation Peace String, so I haven't got anything new to play in the sense that I usually play what I've just built. So I'm just going to jump down and I want to choose a random number. Okay, it's 57 seconds, so 57, and there's a lot of Vietnam stuff. I was in Florida when I did that as well. The good news is the server seems fairly versatile, and it's been up now for over a week, maybe a bit more. It hasn't seemed to have gone down, and it got heavily spammed by some Chinese bot, probably American disguised as Chinese, etc. So, but it survived. There's one that sort of some updating. I'm going to do this one. So he's got a leader there. I think that leader died. Okay, so there's a lot in there. So, well, obviously there's all the objectives. Here are some of the objectives that they took first, presumably. So I guess the first thing to do, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to spend the first sort of turn, because I'm trying to do some sort of strategic thinking. Obviously, what with it not being new, I have no idea what's going on here, but I do remember Palmyra. But so we've got quite a lot to sort of choose from, really. Now, what I'm thinking is we need to sort of have 3 fronts. 1, 2, 3, and this one will sort of go through there. So we've got to send forces that way, and that way. So we've got to split them up. So what have we got? One lot of artillery. I'm not even going to worry about the officers. We've got this one regiment here with mechanized units. We got some marines and some special forces. We've got some more special forces over here, which are Russian, and we've got this armoured regiment. So that's quite good. So this armoured regiment, mechanized and infantry and artillery are probably going to be core elements. So I'm going to send those with leaders because I don't care about them. All through the centre. I'm going to send the special force units. I'm going to spend this special force unit, this marine unit, and this National Defence Force unit. towards these hills. And then all this other stuff, all these Badr Brigade, all these small militias with this special force unit. Now this special force unit is going to go with these. No, the special force unit is going to stay with these up against there. Now that's not going to be too difficult. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to sort them out so they're all going in the sort of the best direction. Nope. Special force units going down here. Oh, he didn't want to go that way. Why did he do that? There's something I've noticed actually. I think there's something odd with the browser code. And the one you pick up doesn't always necessarily seem to be the one you move, which for a game like this is pretty significant. Now he, under there, doesn't want to be going in that direction. He's gone in the wrong direction. He's got 8 defense. You can see how old this game is. Right. So we sort of moved things off in the right direction. I'm going to put some airstrikes in. Mainly on this big stack because it's a big stack. That's bizarre. 1 minute. I don't know what was wrong with that. Still doesn't really work, does it? Oh, I see. It's that bit. Okay, I think I sorted it out. It's just a bug with the new changeover to the new server and PHP 7. Yeah. So I sorted it out. So we won't be seeing that bug again. Get out. It seems to be targeting their air defense. I wonder if that's deliberate. It would seem odd. I'll have to look at that at some point, possibly. But at least his artillery has been whittled down for what it is. Okay, so that's everything else. We're not going to got any more moves there. I'm not going to fire anything because I'm still positioning myself. So ISIL, what do they want to do? Well, I think the first thing they might do is to redeploy. I think I'm going to leave everything as it is, apart from the artillery. Do we want to move it forward to at least? I think we should really. I might just be able to get that. No, it's too far. Could sneakily move him there and then fire, but I don't want to. Okay, so we're still trying to reorganize all these units. So these guys are still trying to sort of head north. And he wants to get back on the road. Okay, so that's all going that direction. These are going in this direction. Airstrikes. Might as well start hitting these guys. Okay. The ISIL turn. Well, they're going to move this artillery into there. Hopefully they can fire on this. We didn't move any of that last time. He doesn't seem to have any movement. He doesn't seem to have the ability to fire. Maybe he's out of range still. He shouldn't be, but sometimes the things are a bit odd. Oh, he's got 0 movement, that's why. Didn't move these last time, I only moved the artillery. So they're not going to move. Push them back. They're going to take a long time to get there. Special forces might be able to do something special though. We could probably attack here. Let's use the artillery first. Point 5. Push them out. So we take Al Dawa village, which is not surprising considering the size of these units. And we rout them. And air power wise, well, let's try and take that artillery out, which is the only thing that can really hurt us. Huh. So we've got rid of his artillery. Let's prep this guy up. No effect. Okay. ISIL. So the thing is that they can't really do much. They don't really have much of a counter-strike capability. It's just a case of how long they can hold in. So playing the ISIL player in this game would be pretty boring and unsatisfying. But this is more of a reflection of what happened, not something that we would want to see as a balanced game, or should be a balanced game. Well, this is the Tara Triangle, the Palmyra Triangle. Presumably because of the triangular road network, but I don't know. Now we should really push into that fortified hex there. Well, in passing, they might as well weigh in. Artillery first. We can push in with this infantry. Oh, 1-to-1 and a DR. Shocking. Well, let's do an airstrike to support this attack. I mean, I can actually sort of vaguely remember the Palmyra situation because it happened a few times. And it always struck me that ISIL, ISIS could have just retreated. But that was the same in many situations. It wasn't quite the same in places like Mosul or Raqqa or Aleppo to some extent, where they could really hold their ground to the end. Here it seemed that there wasn't really much in Palmyra, but I think that was the sort of sense, they were pretty much fighting to the end, no matter what. So although it seems like an easy win, it's actually sort of, to some extent, what they had to do it. Well, I'm going to push against that. So I think we should get another win on that. Yep, 7-1 DE. But I'm not going to push onto that because they're fortified. Although there's only 2 of them, they're probably quite fresh. I'll put in some airstrikes first. I don't want to commit these special forces yet, but what I will do, I'm going to move them as far over here as I can. Yes, that's a flanking maneuver. Okay. Where is the rest of the game? Now that's unnerving. Okay, so ISIL again, they could retreat, but I'm going to pull back here. What we're going to do here is an attrition. Unsuccessful. They've now fallen back into Palmyra proper. Okay, well, Marines can take Hill 800. Tiger forces can move forward with this leader, and the National Defences forces can move in there to take that. There's nothing up here to take. We don't really need anything to help with that. Let's use the special forces to come down here and to encourage these guys to leave. Huh. Well, they weren't too impressed with that. So the special forces have just made a mockery of themselves. Perhaps I shouldn't have committed them in that way. I thought they would have gone up to about 8 or something. But their defence is 2. And they did get 3.3. So they were times 3. Presumably they were 10% on that, maybe, because of that. I don't know. That wasn't enough. Right, okay. Nevertheless, we'll move on. Let's just put the artillery onto here. Little things like that mean much more from a strategic loss perspective. That's the problem with war. If you mess up like that, it's expensive. It costs more than just the loss, because they've got to wage war without losing anything, really, for it to be clean. there would have been a historic disaster there for these Russian special forces. Okay, 2 on that, 2 on that, just so we got some clearance on this front line. Totally ignoring that other little unit. There's no irregulars in this, which is interesting because it's quite an old game. Let's just go for it. .4 defense. What do they have in there? So these are both sort of new, so that's 4. We still got them out at 1 to 2 odds, but they had 26. Oh, it's in a hill. So I had 4 in a hill. What's a hill? Times 3, so it's 4, 8, 12. Doubled for the fortification, 26, thereabouts. So that makes sense. I mean, they were in a fort in a hill, and we attacked them at 1 to 2 odds, and still got them out. That was unreal. I'm going to end it soon because I'm busy and I'm clearly not thinking properly. I've got things to do, which is why I've been so behind on everything else. But you know, if we messed up there, but came through dramatically well, taking Jabal, whatever it is, Ustum. And I think we should move in there. But what I'm going to do with the armour is I'm going to deal with this unit because he shouldn't really be sat there. That's just stupid. 5 to 1 DR. Pushes him back. We got rid of the leader and pushed him back over to there with depressions 6.9. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. Just put the end turn in. We've got this rogue unit in there, but we'll be able to possibly at least engage them with our special forces, our militias, and our armoured unit here. Push in on this flank, move these troops along this road, and create a sort of fairly strong line to push through Palmyra. I think it's quite an interesting reflection of it, and I think these things, they do more than just simulate what happened. They give you food for thought. We had the this failed special forces attack, and I think something like that would be quite spectacular in the world of modern media reporting if it was reported. I mean, there were some disasters, I seem to remember, near Palmyra where special forces units were killed in action. I seem to remember one of them was sort of televised or something, or at least part of the battle was. And but that's what happens, you see. And so something like that can then become it can then become controversial, and it could be then snowball into this dramatic event that changes the course of the war because it's controversial. And they say, well, why did that happen? Well, was the commanding officer tired, not thinking properly? Was this risk assessment carried out properly? They must have risk assessments of some sort for every engagement or battle. They must have some quick way of doing things, either quick way or long way, battle planning. Was it coordinated? Did they actually have support? Did they request support? What went wrong with that situation? I mean, what went wrong with this battle on this fortified hill where these two units just went in completely underpowered and won? I mean, it's one of those things where because they won, they might not look at it as badly, but it makes me think of the Tanzania-Uganda war where the Tanzanians played the trick with the radio, to make the Ugandans think the Americans and another force, I think it's the Americans and it wasn't the British, it was the Americans and some other force, big force, not the Russians. It doesn't matter who they were, but they made them think that the Americans were in the battle and they all ran away. But the people that did the trick were actually, they were told off. I don't think they were court-martialed, they were told off. They were basically disciplined for it. And, although they got this, you might think that, wonder how, because that was otherwise, a sure failure. 1 to 2 odds, you just don't even think about it, especially when you're playing with armoured units. This game could probably do with being rebuilt with some insurgent irregular units and anti-tank. But anyway, I'm going to sort this out, send it up. I just want to keep a video up on my YouTube thing, that's new, because I haven't stopped doing it. It's just, I'm so under certain things. I accidentally got myself sunburnt today, which is accidental because I spent a lot of time walking around with a towel around my head to stop that. And but one thing leads to another, and you realise that I've got sun cream and things, and so my legs and arms are okay, but face and neck have been burnt. So, and I'm very sensitive about that these days. But yeah, but the thing is, what I'm saying is, I'm stuffed for time, so it's going to be a while. And I'm sort of sitting there looking at these games. I'm thinking, will I actually ever get them done? I mean, there's so many of them, and these two are really involved. These ones are involved. This Hong Kong riots, I haven't even done the map. It's just so much work, and it makes me wonder how I ever managed to do all, find the time to do all of these. But I'll get back into it, and I know I will, because one of the things is I'm away. And then I've had all these things crop up, and it's just like, I'm constantly tired, and when I'm tired I can't do it. You gotta think. And it does make me wonder, really, or it does make me realise in a lot of instances about how good I am at this. And I say it deliberately in that way, not because I really truly believe it, but because obviously in my reduced state I can't do it, which means there's a level at which it can't be done, which means that there is a height to which you have to achieve before you can do it, and that height is not necessarily readily achievable by anyone. People could probably say, oh, I could do that. Well, yeah, anyone could do it, but doing it is the other thing. I often say this with business, when people start up businesses in stupid things. it doesn't matter if it's stupid. If you do it, the fact that you're doing it is like 9/10 of the battle, because people that are not doing it will not be able to reap the rewards of whatever that business is. For example, I quite often think of hairdressing, because I find that to be incredibly simple. Or you could be a painter. I was going to say plumber, but I think it's a little more. You need a little more to be a little more qualified. And even with a painter, you can't just jump in. It depends who you're working for. But someone like a gardener, cutting people's grass. These things you can sort of say, well, anyone can do that. It's rubbish. But the thing is, you have to actually, to run a business, you actually have to have the audacity to actually do it, to present yourself as doing it, to be available regularly, and to actually push the cart out on that. Just because people can say, oh, I could do that, unless you're actually doing it, then you're not doing it. And a lot of people can actually earn quite a lot of money from these sorts of things, even if they're simple. And nothing is really that simple when it comes down to it, because even as a hairdresser, you've got to have the equipment. You've got to have probably a salon. As a gardener, you've got to have a lawnmower. There's an entry to it, and even with this, you've got to have a computer and you've got to have broadband. And one thing that's been slowing me down is my broadband connection has basically been, as far as I'm concerned, interdicted. I mean, if you looked at some of my earlier videos, I was waiting nearly a minute for a form to fill, and I actually later realised that I couldn't connect to the server on the other old server, and I think that they're doing it deliberately to push me into moving it onto this new server, because it's on the cards, and from their perspective, I wanted to hold it out for as long as possible, but I get the feeling they just wanted to push me off, which they finally did. But the incubus was that I couldn't connect. There's pointless sitting there for a game like this where you need instant connectivity to move the counters around, when you have to wait a minute between server communications. And I found it was deliberate in some regards, somewhere along the line, that the IP was being interdicted. Because when I started using a VPN, I've never really used a VPN before, but for some reason I sort of thought I'd give it a go with a VPN. I can't remember why. And I've actually downloaded 3 of them now, and they seem to work, but you've got to pay for them after a while. You've got to pay for locations and things, and I don't really care. But when I used the VPN for the UK, it worked instantly. So the server was there. It was working. When I go to online places like ping my site, it was pinging. When you do a screenshot of my site, it was doing a screenshot. So obviously it was on the server, and I was getting quite irate with the people on the server saying, I don't believe that you're hosting it. I'm trying to get through and nothing's happening. At no stage did they suggest that maybe there was some sort of interdiction along the network. And I was pinging it, and it was sort of slowing down at Tiscali servers, and I think that's how they do it. I think they sort of block IP packets whenever they want for certain sites. And the moral is, to some extent, is amongst other things, that if you ever go to a site and it's sort of not there, you've got to wonder whether or not it's actually not there, or whether they just don't want you seeing it. Because 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, you probably won't try that site again. And I found this with quite a few small sites, like Bob's War Games website, or John's political commentary website. You go there and it's not there, and you think, he's obviously given up. And I think what you need to do is to develop some kind of strategy plan for dealing with that. And I think even this is probably doomed to failure. But if you find a website that you can't find, look it up on the Wayback Machine, just to see whether or not it's actually been down, or whether or not it's got whatever latest instance suggests it should be there. Because I think they are trying to block websites, and that's one of the reasons why this site, I've no idea what this is going to look like, but look, there's no one on there. That's me. And there's been no one on all day, that's me. And there's been one person from Spain who's looked at 2 pages. You know, I mean, for a global site with a global domain, this just doesn't make any sense. So what I imagine, you know, if you type in, these are keywords, hexes, encounters, computer game, hex, war games. You know, if you type in any of these, you should get my site, but you don't. And to imagine that there are no people looking at this site a day, or one person from Spain, I just don't believe it. So what I imagine is a lot of people they're not connecting to it. They're being blocked because it's a game about war. And they're hoping that I'll just give up at one point and then they can just consign it to the dark archives of nothing. You know, I truly believe that they are more than content to just kill websites like that. And this site's been going for about 6 years now, and quite often I get quite irate really because I know they're doing it, and I deal with a historic account today. I won't go into the details of it, but it was from 1990, so it wasn't anything to do with the internet, although this guy did do some internet advertising. But basically he's having his telephone interdicted, and he was saying that he knew it was happening because customers were phoning him saying they couldn't get through to him. They're saying that they're phoning him and his number was engaged. They're phoning him and it was just a deadline. He said that he picked the phone up once and heard a recording of a previous call that he'd made. He picked the phone up once and heard someone whispering, "It's Bob," or whatever his name was. "It's Bob. I recognise his voice." You know, there's people on the line listening to him, blocking his conversations. This is entirely something else. And that was in like 1990, and his complaint was that the agents involved, because I don't want to say too much about it, were trying to put him out of business. And eventually he died in 2013, so it's 13 years later. But the thing is, these things, they do it to the death. You know, it's actually quite important to sort of comprehend that, because all they have to do is interdict, disrupt your business activities in continuum up until you die, and they win. And they don't need to be one person. You're only one person. You or me, I'm one person. An organisation can just, you know, as long as you're on that list, you end up with nothing at all. Look, an entire planet that could possibly be looking for any of these terms and nothing. And I got a counter, and it's exactly the same. And I do it because I enjoy it, and I enjoy doing the videos. But I have just read this account, work on things like that, and been writing up about it. And when I read it, my jaw dropped, because it was 1990, and it's just, you know, it's like the early days of that kind of interdictive activity, mainly to interdict his telephone calls. He had an advert with the yellow pages, and he said he also had advertising on the internet. And it's sort of this, you know, he's saying it makes you feel paranoid, you know, because you feel like you must be a loony. But you know, you can tell quite clearly that he's not a loony. But the thing is that he died. You know, he didn't die of any other, you know, particular reason. But I think he died at about 67. But you know, they go all that way. And you know, maybe he wouldn't have died if he'd earned more money and had been happier, and you know, who knows. You can't say he died because of that. But the thing is, people only have a certain life expectancy in them, and you've got to look at that. You know, no matter what age you are, really. I mean, the younger people really probably don't even contemplate it, but for older people it comes more certain. For today I was looking at getting some driving insurance. I was looking at that, and that's fine, and it said, "How old are you?" And it said it's got an age range, I think 20 or 18 or whatever, up to 69. I looked at that, so 69. Okay, so that gives me another X number of years. It's a rather finite number of years. And after that, presumably this company won't give me driving insurance. And so all they got to do is carry on at this rate. But all these people apparently have looked at my site. It's not a lot, 23,000. You know, virtually no one in the Amazon basin. This, I went to Iceland once, but there's more than one hit. But that was me. I did that. But there's more than one because I noticed it was live again a while later. There used to be this thing. There it is. So you can see the Icelandic one is quite busy. I mean, compared to what you might imagine the minimum is. But obviously there's London, Netherlands, Tampa. So I'm gonna wonder who that is. And these spikes, I think it looks quite bizarre, all these spikes. It looks like some kind of disease. Australia always strikes me as being fairly poorly represented in this game. But then again, most of these are robots. I do a thing on Facebook, and you just get all these robots coming in because they're obviously looking at Facebook. I don't know how they get to Facebook because you can't use Facebook for anything. You can't search it for anything. It's not as there's any open access on it. It's not as though search engines can spot it. So I don't know how they get all this sort of these things checking links up because I never have any traffic from Facebook. Never. Have a little bit from Twitter. I mean, when I say a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 a month. You know, but once or twice a month there'll be a Twitter link come through in the links. Facebook never. YouTube is quite good, but it just looks sinister, doesn't it? Well, to me it looks like it's sort of some kind of weird thing. Keep looking at the Falkland Islands, but no one on the Falkland Islands has ever done this game, or nor in Argentina. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.